I'm 81 years old, and I don't have much left that surprises me anymore. What does still catch me off guard is how quiet life becomes when you finally stop running from yourself. That silence has been with me a long time now, and it's heavy. I'm telling this now because I don't have the luxury of pretending there will be another chance. There won't be. I can feel that in my bones, in the way mornings come slower and nights feel longer than they used to. I spent 52 years avoiding my own feelings. Not all at once, not in some dramatic way, just little by little, day after day, until it became the way I lived. And it cost me the people I love most. These days, I wake up early without trying. The house is quiet. No one is asleep down the hall. No coffee waiting on the stove except the pot I make myself. I sit at the table and listen to the refrigerator hum. That sound feels louder now than voices ever did. I don't tell this story to be forgiven. Most of the people who might forgive me are gone, or too far away to hear it. I'm saying it because I wish someone had said it to me when I still thought I had time. When you're young, feelings feel optional. That's the best way I can describe it. You believe you can set them aside and come back later like tools on a shelf. I was good at that. Very good. In my 20s, I thought I was doing what a decent man was supposed to do. I worked hard. I showed up on time. I paid my bills. I didn't drink too much. I didn't cause trouble. I believed that was enough. I married young. She was kind, patient, and softer than me in ways I didn't yet understand. She wanted to talk about us, about how things felt, about where life was going. I listened, but only halfway. I nodded. I said things would work out. I wasn't lying. I just didn't know how to look inward. No one had taught me how. In my family, you didn't talk about feelings. You swallowed them. You kept moving. I took pride in being steady, reliable, the man who didn't fall apart. I thought that made me strong. I didn't see that it also made me distant. When our first child was born, I stood in the hospital room holding that small, warm weight, and I felt something big and unfamiliar rise in my chest. It scared me. I smiled for the picture, then pushed the feeling down and went back to work 2 days later. That became my pattern. Feel something, push it aside, do what needed to be done. Years passed like that. Not bad years, ordinary ones. Mornings rushing out the door. Evenings tired and quiet. Weekends filled with errands and half-finished projects. I was always busy, always tired, always meaning to slow down later. My wife would sit across from me at the table and ask how I was doing. I'd say, fine, I believed it. Or maybe I needed to believe it. There were moments I felt the distance growing, small ones. A pause before she spoke. A sigh I didn't ask about. I noticed, but I told myself it was normal. Life was demanding. We were adults. This was how it was supposed to be. The children grew. I went to their events when I could. I stood in the back, arms crossed, proud but quiet. I didn't know how to say what I felt, so I said nothing. I thought being there physically was enough. I didn't understand that presence without openness feels hollow to a child. By my 40s, the habit was set deep. I was known as calm, reserved, hard to read. People said it like a compliment. I took it as one. Inside, things were piling up. Disappointments I never named, fears I never spoke, love I never fully expressed. I didn't feel empty. I felt contained, tight. The cost didn't come all at once. That's the dangerous part. It came quietly. A birthday I forgot because work ran late. A conversation I postponed because I was tired. A visit I skipped because there would be another one soon. There is always another one soon until there isn't. My wife stopped asking how I felt. I didn't notice when that happened. I noticed later when I tried to remember the last time she did. When the marriage ended, people were surprised. I was surprised too. I said I didn't see it coming. That was true, but only because I hadn't been looking. She told me she felt alone for years, that she had tried, that she was tired. I listened this time, really listened, and I felt something crack open inside me. But it was already too late. We divided our things calmly, we were polite, we hugged awkwardly at the end. I told myself this was just another change. I went back to my routines. I didn't know how to grieve something I had never fully admitted was broken. My children grew more distant after that, not angry, just busy. They had their own lives. I told myself that was normal too. Phone calls became shorter, visits less frequent. When we did talk, we stayed on the surface. Work, weather, practical matters. I didn't know how to cross that distance, and I didn't ask for help. I thought I was respecting their space. I see now I was still avoiding my own discomfort. The turning point didn't come with a dramatic moment. It came with a phone call on an ordinary afternoon. It was about my older brother. He'd had a stroke. He was in the hospital. They didn't know how much time he had. I drove there alone, sat beside his bed, machines humming. The room smelled like disinfectant and something metallic. He looked smaller than I remembered. We had never been close. We didn't talk about feelings either. But sitting there, watching his chest rise and fall, something shifted. I wanted to tell him I loved him. I wanted to tell him I was scared. I wanted to tell him I was sorry for all the things we never said. I didn't. I held his hand and said I was glad to see him. He nodded. He died 2 days later. Driving home from the funeral, I pulled over on the side of the road and cried harder than I ever had. Not just for him, for everything. That was the moment clarity arrived. Not gently, not kindly. It came like a weight dropping. I saw my life laid out plainly. All the moments I had delayed, all the words I had saved for later, all the connections I had assumed would wait for me. They didn't. I tried to change after that. I really did. I reached out more. I spoke a little more honestly. But habits built over decades don't undo themselves easily. Some bridges were already gone. Some people had learned not to expect anything deeper from me. They weren't wrong. My ex-wife remarried. I heard through someone else. I felt glad for her, and something else too. A quiet ache that didn't have a name. My children are kind to me now. They visit, they call. But there is a distance that feels permanent. A politeness. They don't lean on me. They don't open up the way I once wished they would. I understand why. Trust is built early. I missed that window. There are things that cannot be fixed. That is the hardest truth of getting old. Not everything can be revisited. Not every apology lands where you hope it will. I can't go back and sit longer at that table. I can't go back and answer those questions differently. I can't give my younger self the courage to feel. All I can do is sit here now with the life I shaped by avoidance and be honest about it. Loneliness in old age doesn't always come from being alone. It comes from realizing how much of yourself you kept hidden, even from the people closest to you. I have good memories. I'm grateful for them. That makes the sorrow sharper, not softer. If you're listening to this and you're younger than I am, I won't tell you what to do. I wouldn't have listened anyway. I'll just tell you what I wish I had understood. Feelings don't wait. They don't fade if you ignore them. They settle into your relationships and shape them quietly. Time feels generous when you're in the middle of it. It feels endless. It isn't. The conversations you delay don't stay the same. The people you love don't remain untouched by your silence. If this meant something to you, you don't need to change your whole life. Just don't assume there will always be another chance to say what matters. As for me, I take my mornings slow now. I let myself feel whatever comes. Sadness, gratitude, regret, they're all welcome. I don't push them away anymore. I don't know how much time I have left. Not long, if I'm honest. But I'm done running from myself. And if this is the last thing I leave behind, I hope it serves as a quiet warning. Spoken too late for me, but maybe not for you.